Until this year, which is 2019, I've never touched any Castlevania game, which is crazy considering I've played most likely more than 1,000 games in my lifetime. In 2019, I pledged to right this wrong by playing through the Castlevania franchise and getting familiar with the most popular titles in the series. As I play through each game, I'll be creating a vlog of my experience with the title to recap it, and once I feel I've gone through enough of the series, produce a full franchise review video at the end. My rules: I must complete a playthrough of the game or achieve 100% to see all possible content before filming a vlog. I will allow the use of save states and walkthroughs for my own sanity, and I will play the games on an officially released platform. No illegal ROMs or emulators here. To start this challenge, I intend to play all 6 titles in the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, plus Castlevania Rondo of Blood, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and also look at the 2 Bloodstained games as a bonus episode to see how they captured the spirit of the original franchise they're based off of. As I play through these games, I may get recommended others or discover new entries that I may add to this list. For this specific challenge, however, I'll be limiting myself to just the 2D Castlevania games. The 3D games will be looked at in a separate series, if I get around to that. Alright, let's begin. Alright, welcome everybody to the first installment in the Castlevania vlog. I think that's what I'm going to be calling it. So this all happened because I was having a really good conversation in Discord, and I realized I was really excited talking about my experience with Castlevania. And I figured, hey, instead of waiting however long it's going to take me to beat all these games and make one massive scripted review, why don't I just create this diary series where I can share with you guys my experience of each game as I go through them and complete them. So far, Castlevania 1 is done. I have completed it, and I'm not completing the hard mode because screw that. It's just too hard. So a little bit of background about my history with Castlevania. I've never enjoyed horror films. I've always avoided them. I didn't watch them. So growing up, I didn't even really know Castlevania was even a thing because that genre, that theme would not have appealed to me, and I just had no interest in it. And somehow I avoided even learning anything about it. Funny enough, I learned about Castlevania thanks, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say how late I learned about Castlevania, but I was well into my 20s. It was through the whole Metroidvania term that people were using to describe a certain type of game. And keep in mind, I also did not grow up with Metroid, so I didn't actually play my first Metroid game, not counting Metroid Prime, because Metroid Prime was my first game that I played when I was 20 years old. So when I finally got into 2D Metroidvania games, that's where I learned that there was Metroid, Castlevania, you put them together and that's how you get this genre. So I've always been curious about it, but whenever I saw the gameplay for it, it didn't really appeal to me. But I have to say, I've always loved the music of Castlevania. I've always I've known the themes, they're iconic by this point. So I knew that the Castlevania music was always going to be good. So when I started Castlevania 1, it kicks off right away, the first level. You've got that awesome, I think it's called Vampire Killer. And I don't know if it's the first level exactly, but it's in the first world. Kick-ass music really gets you going. And I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed the mechanics of the first Castlevania. Because when I look at Castlevania, it's really stiff. I've seen the Angry Video Game Nerd play that game. I've seen a lot of other retro YouTubers play that game. And it never had much appeal to me because it was so slow. The whole going up the stairs, down the stairs, and you can't really jump when you're in them. You're just kind of stuck there. All of that had very little appeal to me, but I was surprised playing Castlevania 1 how fun the controls were. Yes, they are stiff, but the way that the enemies are positioned gives you enough time to anticipate where they're going to be and when you need to hit your button to whip it. Whip it good. I can't believe I said that. But it's a really good game. I like the whole checkpoint system. I felt like it was very arcadey, which was a good thing. I was dying a lot, not as much as I thought I would. I made it pretty smoothly up until the later parts of the castle. Also, the way that the map shows up between levels to show you your progression through the castle, that's really cool. That's not something that was too common back in the NES days. You had Zelda that would show you the map. But other than that, there wasn't anything that I can really think of that would give you that sense of progression so much back in those games back then. I could be missing some, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any. So progression system was good. The bosses, I don't know if it's because I didn't spend enough time with them, but I got through them by pretty much just spamming my attack. I didn't really figure out their mechanics too much, and I think that really screwed me over when it came time to fight Death and Dracula himself, which were by far the hardest things in this entire game. I didn't have too much problems going through all of the levels, the enemies and all that. Oh my god, the enemies. Medusa heads. I hate Medusa heads so much now. And there's like this part right before you fight Death, there's like a long hallway, and you have to dodge Medusas and also fight off 2 knights that throw the axe like either at eye level or feet level. I have to say that was hard, but it was also fun because it was a rewarding kind of difficulty where the game is throwing a lot at you and you need quick reflexes, but if you do it right, it's pretty easy to overcome if you get good enough. So that was a really cool segment that stood out for me. Like, I don't know if anyone else who grew up with it, like what their iconic moments of the game is. Actually, if you grew up with it, let me know what your iconic moment of Castlevania was, but that was a big one for me. But back to Death and Dracula. Oh my god, those guys spanked me so hard. Death, I could not figure out for the life of me what its pattern was. I think I learned afterwards that I think that there's an exploit for both these bosses. I did it through save states, like thank god for save states. I just got really lucky through like jumping between this guy's scythes and stuff, and I was also using the boomerang attack. So those were really hard. Like I was ready to rage quit when I was streaming that. And then Dracula himself, while not hard, like, you know, you smack him in the face and then you like smack him before he shoots the fireballs. I had a lot of troubles getting that timing down, and it took me a long time to figure out that that is the optimal way to even fight him. And then forget that when, you know, you kill him, he transforms into a beast, and then you have to kill that. Again, save states helped me there, so I don't feel like I legit beat Dracula, but I can't imagine how difficult that must have been back on the NES when you didn't have save states, because you would have had to. So let's say you die in Dracula, which you're going to. Nobody's that good when you first fight him. You're going to get sent back to the beginning of the level. Then you have to go through all of that again, all of that pain, with the hopes that you have enough lives left to face Dracula, to learn what the combination is. Like the game's longevity stems on you playing it so many times that you start building a memory for the patterns and all that. And just to get the chance to face Dracula, you have to keep going through all the level. That's just brutal. Same with Death. Like, those 2 bosses are just brutal. So did not really like that, because it was very much dependent on you fighting those bosses a lot of times to figure out the pattern, which is a very old retro style design mechanic for bosses, and I don't like that. But otherwise, really enjoyed the rest of it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I didn't really remember, no, I wouldn't have remembered because I didn't play it. I didn't know about the whole like chain upgrade system, which, you know, you get introduced to that right off the bat. The first 3 things that drop off the lampposts are the chain upgrades. I thought that was really cool, and it's so hard to play the game when you don't have the full chain upgrade. The hearts that drop from the lanterns and stuff, so confusing. Why do hearts not give you health? Instead they give you like points to use your sub weapon. I didn't really understand that, and that was really annoying at first. It felt very arcadey, and I don't know, I didn't actually research anything before doing this vlog, but you know, there's some parts I noticed in the first level, if I stood in certain areas, it would unlock these like rainbow shiny items that were worth a lot of points. While that was cool, I guess it played to that era's philosophy of just like trying to get a high score. I'm not into that. I really don't care about getting high scores. So while it was cool, I didn't really seek them out. I found 2 in the first level, and then I didn't see any for the rest of the game. So I have no idea how many of those there are. The whole loop at the end, how they send you right after you beat Dracula, you know, you get sent right back to the beginning to play the whole game on hard mode. Like, oh my god, who punishes themselves like that? That's just ridiculous. Did not like that either. Like, the game is just really hard. But overall, with save states, it was fairly reasonable, I felt, with the save states. If there wasn't save states, you'd have to grind, and I'm not all about that grinding life. But overall, it took me, I think, about 3 hours with save states, which is not too bad for an NES game. Remember, back then you couldn't save. You would pretty much put it into your NES, and you'd have to play everything in one playthrough, which is kind of crazy in hindsight. One thing I didn't understand, and to this day I still don't really understand, there's this item that would drop for your sub-weapon that would either have a 2 or a 3. Now, during the stream, people told me that that would increase the potency of my sub-weapon. And I don't know, that's what I thought it was. But then afterwards, when I was complaining on Twitter about Dracula being hard and how people beat this back in the day, someone said that you need to have the 2 and the 3, which lets you carry multiple sub-weapons at a time, which I don't really understand how that would work either. So I'm not sure which one it is. Overall, they were pretty much useless. In fact, all of the sub-weapons, like, I figure that some bosses are weaker to some sub-weapons than others. I didn't play it enough to really understand which sub-weapons were most effective on which boss. I rarely used any of them. Yeah, there's the holy water, there's the boomerang thing. The boomerang thing was the most useful against death. I used that. And then there's the knife. Didn't really use the knife on anybody. But to wrap it up, pretty pleasantly surprised with the first Castlevania. I think it set a great foundation for the series. I can understand now why it's a classic, why it's a hit. The game aged pretty good too. Like, it plays like a game of its time, but that's okay because it's not like it doesn't feel unfair, and for someone who spends the time the game demands for it, I feel that you could really master the game by really understanding where, like, the weaknesses of the bosses are, the optimal ways to get through, like, certain segments, and seeing, like, a pro speedrun that would just be, like, really cool to see. So Castlevania 1, really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what the other Castlevania games look like. I'm not expecting much because I know Castlevania 2, for one, is just garbage from what everyone is telling me, so I'm not looking forward to play that. I am filming this after I've played a bit of Castlevania 3 and a little bit of spoilers on my next diary. I'm not enjoying Castlevania 3 at all. Like, the series went in a different direction, and I know a lot of people say Castlevania 3 is the better game. So episode 2 of this diary series is going to be interesting because the next game I'll be playing is Castlevania 3 on the NES, and I will share with you my thoughts when I complete it all and can talk about every element of the game. So I'll see you next time, and until then, keep it classy.